State football, 1980 on Channel 27. I'm Tom Mees with Jim Crosby. Jim, last year Florida State came into the stadium having to prove to the nation they were a good foot. The shoe is on the other foot for LSU.
It's the dawn of a new era at LSU. Jerry Stovall, a new coach, is on the scene. They want to get off on the right foot. FSU wants to duplicate that unbeaten season of last year.
The key things to watch tonight, the quarterback. Each club, Alan Risher has never played it down in a game for LSU, while Rick Stockstill has never played a pressure down for Florida State. It ought to be a whale of a game, and we'll be back with the opening kickoff from Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in just a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Florida State University football season on Channel 27, and welcome to Death Valley. That's what they call it here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A jam-packed crowd of over 76,000 on hand at Tiger Stadium to see the fourth game in a series that has been filled with exciting football games between the Seminoles of Florida State and the Tigers of LSU. I'm Tom Mees, happy to be with you for the second season in a row, and I'd like to welcome to our broadcast now for the first time in the regular season, WECA Sports Director Jim Crosby. Jim, the electricity here is something else. This crowd, the noise is everything they said it would be.
You know, they've been playing football since 1893 here, and they've averaged 63,000 fans a game since 1957. That's 140 games. They've averaged 63,000 fans, and they are electric.
All right, now, when you talk about the LSU Fighting Tigers, you have to talk about their coach, Jerry Stovall, an All-America here at LSU, an All-Pro with the St. Louis Football Cardinals, as a great defensive back, and he is beginning his first year as coach. Obviously, this is his first game under very trying circumstances. You recall that Charlie McClendon hung up the coaching clothes after 18 years, 18 glorious years at LSU. Then the Fighting Tigers under Paul Dietzel went out and got themselves a great coach in Bo Ryan from North Carolina State. You all know, I'm sure, about the tragic airplane accident that took Bo Ryan's life. And now it's Jerry Stovall. He's got a young quarterback they're very high on by the name of Alan Risher. He is a sophomore starting his first varsity game. And Alan Risher, like most of the Tigers, a Louisiana boy from Slidell, Louisiana, he's a sophomore. As far as the Seminoles go, Jim, they're also, I guess you could say, unwrapping under game situations a brand new quarterback in Rick Stockstill.
That's right, and he's probably the most inexperienced quarterback in America, because Rick has been in school 4 years now. He was redshirted 1 year, and of course he has the same kind of temperament and personality that Wally Woodham and Jimmy Jordan brought to the Seminole games, and I think he's a whole lot like them. He runs a little better, maybe throws not quite as well, but everybody has confidence that Rick Stockstill can do the job.
Here come the Florida State Seminoles onto the field to open the 1980 season, and we hope it'll be as successful as 1979 was when the Seminoles had that great undefeated season and met their match ultimately in the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma, but it was a great year nonetheless, and folks around Tallahassee way are very high on the Seminoles again this year, rightfully so. The LSU Tigers have won the toss, which is going on at the center of the field. It rained for about 5 hours, and for most of the day here rained very hard. It stopped about 3 hours ago. The Tigers have won the toss, and the referee is at the center of the field with the Tiger captain, Lyman White. He's big number 94 there, all everything. The Tigers will receive. They're dressed in white and gold, and they'll be moving from left to right on your screen. The Seminoles will kick off, going from right to left. The handshakes are over at the center of the field, and we're just about ready for the start of NCAA football, Florida State and LSU. Jim, as far as Florida State goes in the offensive backfield, besides Rick Stockstill, the running game will be more emphasized this year with some excellent running backs.
They seem to have more depth at running back than they've had ever in the history of FSU football. Mike Whiting, who proved himself last year as a tailback while Mark Lyles was at fullback, has now moved to the fullback position. He's running well, he's blocking well. And to get more speed in the backfield, they've moved Sam Platt from Jacksonville, Florida, to the tailback position. Platt told me that he always was a running back at heart. That's where he's always wanted to play, and he has had great practices. He looks super, and they are ready to get on with it.
Before we forget, the Florida State University football players, everyone, asked me to say a special hello to Edinburgh Richardson, who is in Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. He is unfortunately having to suffer through an illness right now that has caused him to lose a great deal of weight. Edinburgh, if you're listening, we hope the Seminoles come up with a victory for you, and we hope you get better real soon. That's the most important thing. Your teammates are definitely thinking about you.
Tom, I had several interviews with Edinburgh last year, and there's just not a nicer person around, and we hope that he gets well in a hurry.
Billy Capiz, he'll wear number 17 on the garnet and gold, is ready to kick off. Back for the LSU Tigers to receive the kickoff in triple safety are Jesse Miles, Eric Ellington, and Greg Lang. Well, they've made a change now. Hokie Gaijan is back there. Hokie Gaijan, number 47, nearest your screen. There he is. Will be back to receive Bill Capice's kickoff, along with Michael Montz. So they made two changes. Here's the opening kickoff. It's end over end. Montz will let it slam down in the end zone, and it's awfully wet down there. Out it goes. It'll be a touchback. First down and 10 yards to go for the LSU Fighting Tigers on their own 20-yard line.
Tom, one of the things that has to be proven if LSU can stay with FSU is that offensive line has to handle the FSU defensive line. We'll get a good idea right here on this first play.
All right, the veer offense is what Jerry Stovall has installed here at LSU. The first time they've gone to that offense. We'll set this team as they come out for you. The wide receivers, Tracy Porter to the top of your screen, and Lionel Wallace to the bottom of your screen. The backs are Hokie Gaijan and Jesse Miles behind the quarterback, Alan Risher, number 7. Miles in motion. This is Hokie Gaijan. And a fumble recovered by Florida State. Ron Simmons put the hit on Hokie Gaijan at the 25-yard line. And the fumble is recovered, I believe, by Bobby Butler.
That's right, Bobby Butler, who is one of the premier cornerbacks in the nation. On the replay, you see Gaijan being pinched in there. He trips, and Simmons did hit him. And the ball pops loose. Butler's right there.
So Bobby Butler, as we see on the replay, cradles that hog bladder, and it's 1st and 10 for Florida State on the LSU 24-yard line. Shades of what happened toward the end of the first half last year.
Right.
Let's see if Rick Stockstill can take advantage. Bill Williams is split to the bottom of your screen. Kurt Unglag to the top. Here's the handoff going to Sammy Platt. Platt gains about 3 yards before he's brought down by Lyman White. Big number 94. He's an All-American. You want to know about this guy? Well, all Lyman White did last year, he had 240 solo tackles, 29 sacks, and 12 fumble recoveries. So the Seminoles will put it in play. 3rd down, make that 2nd down now. 2nd down, 7 yards to go. And the ball is marked on the 21-yard line. The I formation. Here's the handoff to Platt. And Sam Platt down to the 16-yard line, where a host of LSU defenders make the tackle. And amongst them was Lyman White again, and Al Richardson also over there. They're calling it now, 3rd down and 3 yards to go. There you see Sammy Platt, number 29, who has made the first 2 carries of the ballgame. He started at Florida State as a running back, went to wide receiver, had that great game against Navy, played wide out last year, now he's back at running back. And the coach, Nick Kish, the running back coach, is mighty glad to have him. Big play here, 3rd down and 3. Williams goes in motion. Stockstill to Platt, and he'll be tackled for a loss. And making the stop was Benji Thibodeau, big number 77, 6'3", a senior out of Rayne, Louisiana.
Thibodeau had 13 tackles against FSU last year, Tom, and it looks like he's going to have a good night again. I noticed the first 2 times they ran away from Lyman White. That time they ran to his side. And it looks like Bill Capice is going to try his first field goal of the season.
Well, the ball is being spotted at the 17. That's where the line of scrimmage is. The kick will come from the 25-yard line. Capice, the kick is up, and the kick is good. So with the score, Florida State 3 and LSU nothing. We'll be back with more FSU football in just a moment. This is Tom Mees with Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium. Capice's kickoff gotten in by Mike Miles, who carries it up to the 25-yard line before the Seminole special teams put a stop to his adventures, and that's where LSU will take over. 1st down and 10 yards to go at their own 25. The quarterback is Alan Risher. Risher is a youngster who has very impressive high school statistics, but Jim, this is a different story in major college football.
He gained over 5,400 yards in high school, and they call him an Archie Manning type here because he's so rangy, but he, like Stockstill, has to prove it on the field now.
Tracy Porter split wide to the top of your screen. Lionel Wallace to the bottom. Here's Risher on the option play to Miles, and Miles slips a tackle. He's up to near the 35-yard line. Miles slipped a tackle that time of Mark Mochick, who tried to make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and he picks up appreciable yardage near the 35. I don't believe it'll be a 1st down. Miles finally being run out of bounds at the 34, so give him a pickup on the play. They call it 8 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 2 for the Bengal Tigers of LSU. Bill Capice on a 25-yard field goal after an LSU fumble, and the Seminoles have a 3-0 lead. Second down at 2. Gaijon and Miles are the setbacks. Here's Risher to Hokie Gaijon, and Gaijon has the first down before Arthur Scott puts the stop to him. But he does pick up a couple of yards plus, and it's 1st and 10 for the Bengal Tigers of LSU up at the, well, they mark it at the 38.
You know, one of the problems that they anticipated with the offensive line in this first game for LSU is the fact that they've all been moved to new positions. Not a single one playing the position that he played last year, but now they're starting to gel already, it looks like, and they moved the Seminole line out on 2 plays in a row, Tom.
John Fogo, number 18, is in at a wide receiver spot along with Orlando McDaniel for LSU, and Risher is back to pass. Being pressured, screen pass to Miles at the 35, but a heck of a play for the Seminoles. Coming in to break up that screen, Paul Porowski, big number 53, along with Mark Maychek.
One of the things in talking to Jerry Stovall last night that he indicated that he might like to do, since LSU has such great speed in their receivers, is to try to throw short and isolate them one-on-one on a linebacker or a cornerback. So we may anticipate seeing more of that, Tom.
Well, it's apparent also that Jerry Stovall is sending in plays with the split ends because in comes Lionel Wallace again. He's got Wallace and Porter, so we're going to have 4 receivers playing an active role in the Tiger offense. 3rd down and that's 2nd down and 10 to go. And here's another fumble on the snap by Risher. Let's see who's got it. The Seminoles recover. Alan Risher fumbled the snap from center, and that's Ron Simmons, the great All-American out of Warner Robins, Georgia. And another fumble recovery, Jim. We're going to see it again.
Okay, here comes Ron Simmons looking around, and he's Johnny on the spot. And I don't know if Ron heard them talking about the fact that they think Lyman White is as good a football player as Ron, but Ron is pumped up and really making the plays.
One thing we should point out, the field down there is very soft. It rained hard most of the day, so don't think it's only going to happen one way. It can happen both ways. But right now, we're going to take it, I'm sure. Phil Williams in motion. 1st and 10 Seminoles, LSU 37. Here's Sammy Platt. He fumbled the ball for a moment, but he kept it and moves inside the 35, down to the 34, make it the 33-yard line. Joyner makes the tackle on Sammy Platt, who's done the bulk of the ball carrying so far.
Here comes Hardis Johnson in the game. There's an interesting story here. He beat Chris Williams, the best athlete on LSU's team last year. And after the game, he said that he didn't think Williams played with too much discipline. Williams wants to get even this year.
They call it a gain of only 2. 2nd down at 8 Seminoles on the LSU 33, make it the 34-yard line. Again, Williams in motion. Backs in the eye, give to Platt. Platt is open. Sammy Platt to 25. Sam Platt down to the 21-yard line, where the hit is made by George Attia, the great nose guard of LSU from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
They're going to run Sammy Platt a lot. I told you he's had a good practice, and he seems to be running well, and he's getting the blocking. They've found something out on the right side that they can exploit.
Well, let's hope they keep on exploiting it. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles. The ball is marked at the 22-yard line of LSU. Platt and Michael Whiting are the running backs. Kurt Unglov is entered the game now. He's split to the top of your screen, just down of your vision. Handoff is to Mike Whiting. His first carry of the game, and he picks up a couple of yards down to the 20. Whiting, a hard running back, and Attia is in there on that tackle, along with Benji Thibodeau and a host of other LSU tacklers, and Leonard Marshall, the defensive end.
You know, Mike Whiting, according to Coach George Henshaw, has great football sense. Bobby Bowden says he's one of the smarter players that he's ever coached. That's because he has a feel for where to go with the ball.
Hardis Johnson replaces Unglov with a play from Bobby Bowden. He's in there at wide receiver. Again, the man in motion, Phil Williams. Pitch out to Sammy Platt. Platt is inside the 20, down to the 17-yard line. A 3-yard short of a first down, and the defensive end, Tim Joyner, 6'4" sophomore out of Baton Rouge, and George Attia make the tackle.
Attia is in on a lot of tackles in there. He is a tremendous nose guard from Allentown, Pennsylvania, 6'3", 249. And, of course, Joyner did a little slowing down there.
So the Seminoles, at least in the beginning, Jim, and this is something, a key in my book, they've silenced this crowd a little bit with the 2 fumble recoveries.
That's right, and they were supposed to be rattled by the crowd.
Unglov and Williams are your wide receivers. Of course, Sammy Childers, Tallahassee man, is the tight end. 3rd down, 5 to go for Stockstill. He's back to throw. Rolling right. He's going to keep it, but he will be short of the first down as he's wrestled out of bounds over there. And big number 51, Al Richardson, is the man that pushes Stockstill out of bounds, and we're going to see that play again.
Okay, let's take a look at Rick Stockstill. They probably will not let Stockstill run the ball too much from the option because they don't want to take a chance on him getting hurt, but he had to, on this play, he had to run it because he was forced out of the pocket. It looks like Bill Capice is going to try another field goal here.
Stockstill moves so fast, our cameraman couldn't keep up with him. Here's Capice's field goal. It's tipped at the line of scrimmage, but it's good! Oh, my! Bill Capice hits it. I believe it was tipped as it went over the line. Call it good, though, and 25 yards for the score. And with timeout on the field, the score is FSU 6, LSU nothing. Okay, guys, John, Jesse Miles and Mike Montz are back to receive the kickoff of Bill Capice, who is 2 for 2 on field goals, both coming after costly Louisiana State fumbles in their own territory, and both 25 yards in length. We have 8:56 left in the first quarter. I'm Tom Mees with Jim Crosby. Here's Capice's third kickoff of the ball game. Jesse Miles deep in his own end zone. Jimmy ain't going to run that one out. He's going to touch it down.
That's right, and I hate to say that Bobby Bowden's a prophet again, but he said the team that executed best and made the fewest mistakes is obviously going to win this, and LSU has started off making the same kind of mistakes they did that cost them last year.
This telecast presented by WECA Television is authorized by the National Collegiate Athletic Association and ABC Sports Incorporated. Any use of this program without the express written consent of WECA TV, the NCAA, and the ABC Sports Network is prohibited. 1st and 10 for the LSU Bengal Tigers as they trail now 6-0 at their own 20-yard line. Lionel Wallace split to the bottom of your screen. This is a modified veer offense installed by Jerry Stovall. Alan Risher, the quarterback. The handoff is to Jesse Miles. I must apologize. I was calling him Mike Miles in the early going. It is Jesse Miles. He's a sophomore, 190-pounder out of Gray, Louisiana, and he picks up 3. It'll be 2nd and 7.
Paul Borowski made the hit there, and they're still trying to establish that running attack because they don't want to get anything picked off down there. They've had enough problems with turnovers so far.
John Fogo is in at wide receiver now, replacing Lionel Wallace for LSU. Tracy Porter, the other wide out. 2nd down 7. Risher with a long count. Alan Risher rolling to his right. Looking for Fogo, incomplete. And a nice hit put on by Bobby Butler, who came up to seal that one off. However, the ball had already fallen out of the hands of Johnny Fogo, sophomore in Lake Charles, Louisiana. It'll be 3rd down.
Bobby Butler is one of the quality cornerbacks around, and you very, very seldom see him beaten. He was beaten in the corner over here by Carlos Carson last year once. But Carlos Carson has 4.3 speed. Bobby Butler about 4.4.
Into the game now for LSU at wide receiver, number 32, Orlando McDaniel. And this guy is a world-class sprinter if he ever gets loose again. Risher back to throw. Got the time over the middle. Complete. And Porter, Tracy Porter from Baton Rouge makes the reception. We have a flag on the play. That should be a 1st down at the LSU 40. However, we do have a penalty flag. And we'll have to see what the call is. The pass was complete over the middle from Risher to Tracy Porter.
He caught that right in front of Monk Bonassort, and this is what we anticipated seeing Stovall do, is have him run these little curls and these little slants over the middle, try to get isolated on the safeties back there, get behind the cornerbacks if they could, and it's a penalty on LSU.
Well, it's a personal foul against LSU. We're going to take another look at this play coming up. Maybe we can spot the personal foul. The play will not be complete.
Okay, Alan Risher is setting them up with 2 men split wide, and he looks over the middle. Let's see if we can pick up where the penalty occurred. I didn't see it. It's a nice pass.
There it is, right there.
There we go, after it's over.
A late hit, and that late hit came from the tight end, Malcolm Scott. So Malcolm Scott cost his team a 15-yard gain and a 1st down. It'll be 1st down now and 25 yards to go from the LSU 25. So, Jim, LSU digging themselves a hole with 2 fumbles and a very costly penalty.
That's right. The crowd is quiet.
Yes, I should say so. Alan Risher again back to throw. Got the time. He's got Porter open, complete. It is complete at the 49-yard line. A 24-yard completion, Risher to Porter, and it'll be 2nd down and 1.
That brought the crowd alive, and he completed that right over the head of James Harris, who is the cornerback that took Ivory Joe Hunter's place, the only graduation slot in the defensive secondary. We're going to have another look at that. As you see the Seminole rush on, but they're getting good protection, and Risher fires it just over the head of Harris, and it's complete, and Porter goes out of bounds.
So the Seminole defense will be tested now really for the first time this season since it's the first game. LSU with its deepest penetration to its own 49, call it second down and 1. They have to get just over the midfield stripe for a first down. All the backs are in tight now, and the handoff is for the first down.
I believe that was Jude Hernandez.
Jude Hernandez, who played in all 12 LSU games last year, came in to make that first down. Jude Hernandez wearing number 13.
All right, we talked about the importance of the offensive line establishing itself, and you see how they got low and opened up just enough of a hole for the first down.
And now this crowd, this mammoth crowd of over 76,000 comes into play as they start yelling and screaming for their LSU Tigers. Mike Montz comes in to replace Jude Hernandez, who did his job. First and 10 now for LSU at Florida State's 48.5-yard line, really. And again, the backs are in tight, sort of a wishbone formation behind Alan Risher. And we have a penalty flag now. We could have too much time.
That was too much time. You know, one interesting thing I read, they said that on Saturday night, Tiger Stadium would be the 4th largest city in the state of Louisiana. In other words, there are more people here than live in any of the cities in the state of Louisiana except for New Orleans, Shreveport, and Baton Rouge.
That's amazing. I'll tell you, this town goes wild on a football weekend, Jim. It is just amazing to me to see the way these people support their team. Of course, they're no better than the people in Tallahassee. My goodness, the Seminole fans did a great job last year, and we know you're going to fill the stadium next Saturday night when the Louisville Cardinals come into town. But that's next week. Seminoles up 6-0 now in the first quarter, 7:09 left. Alan Risher under pressure from Simmons, gets away. Alan Risher to the 40-yard line. And Monk Bonasort brings him down. An excellent play by Alan Risher.
Yes, he got out of the grasp of Simmons, and there was nobody there else to take him. And it's still a 6-0 score. FSU on top, but LSU has penetrated into Seminole territory, and they're down at the 40-yard line, and the Seminoles are going to have to bow their necks with it. Looks like a 2nd and 2, Tom. A short yardage play again.
That's right, and for that short yardage play coming in is Orlando McDaniel, the speedy flanker, with the play from Jerry Stowell. You know, not too many people get out of the grasp of Ron Simmons. Perhaps the uniform is quite damp down there, and that's the only reason Simmons didn't bring down Risher. All right, Porter and McDaniel are your split ends. Miles and Gaijon are the setbacks. It is 2nd down 2. And again, delay of game is going to be the call against the LSU Tigers. Delay of game. And, Jim, you got to say that this LSU team has really hurt itself with penalties. They're playing like it's the first game of the year.
Yeah, they're playing like they've got a new coach, and it's the first time they've tried to put this offense together. We're going to have an isolation on Simmons on the next play and see what he does. We mainly want to check out his grasp of a runner because he hurt that wrist. He had surgery on it. And here a few weeks ago, he fell and bent all of the fingers back, and we just don't know how much that's recovered. Nobody needs to make excuses for Simmons, but let's take a look at that aspect.
Well, Ron Simmons told me yesterday, I did bump into him, he said, I feel fine, I'm raring to go. So I know that Bobby Bowden hopes so. Here's a handoff to Miles, no gain. No gain on the play, stopped in his tracks, and another fumble.
I think you're going to find Simmons in on it, too.
Well, they say the ball was dead, so the fumble will not count.
Right. Okay, they did something different. They backed Simmons off the line, put him in a linebacker slot so nobody could chop him at the front of the line, and he got through and forced a fumble, but that was after the play. He gummed it up.
I tell you what, Bobby Bowden is a sneaky customer. You just can't trust him. All right. It'll be 3rd down, 7 yards to go after the unsuccessful running play, in which Ron Simmons shut it down. Ball at the Florida State 45-yard line. There's Simmons again. How'd you like to line up against him every night? Not me. And here comes the blitz. Risher throws. It's incomplete. He was trying to beat the blitz. In there was Simmons. I believe Paul Porowski really put on the first great pressure for Florida State on the defense. That's it, number 53, Porowski, and he forced Risher to throw a lot earlier than he wanted, and he's going to force the Tigers to punt.
They had a blitz on Coach Bowden doesn't like the blitz that much, but occasionally he'll throw it in just to keep the offense honest, and that was a good time to do it.
Number 5, Davy Johnston does the punting for LSU, and back to receive in single safety for Florida State, I believe, is Gary Henry. Yes, he's back there by himself. He's letting the ball roll, and it's going to stop at where? At the 1-inch line. That's where it's going to stop. No, they call it a touchback. One referee signaled it was going to stop right before the goal line. The other one said a touchback.
That's because, all right, we're going to take a closer look at it, but it's because the players rushing down carried it on into the end zone.
You let me know when I got it.
And you've got to let that ball die. See, it still was rolling a little, and they carried it on into the end zone, so it was not entirely dead.
Well, the rule, of course, Jim, is if your momentum causes you to carry the ball into the end zone, then it is a touchback. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Seminoles on the on the Florida State 20-yard line. And we'll see if Florida State can generate a real drive now, as Williams and Unglaub are the split receivers, and Michael Whiting is in the backfield along with Sam Platt. Fake the flat. Here goes Stockstill. He's going to keep it. Stockstill gains about a yard. That's all. Stockstill run out of bounds there by the speedy Williams and also Lyman White. White and Williams are given credit for the tackle, and I thought that Larry Williams was the primary tackler on the play.
Okay, Rick Stockstill has been known to break some of those. He had a 70-yard touchdown in the spring game, and if Rick gets out there, he will tuck it under and go.
So they call it a gain of 2 for Stockstill. 2nd down and 8 to go. Backs in the I formation. LSU in a 4-3 defense now. Give is to the up back, Michael Whiting. He plows ahead for about 3. And he hangs on as George Attia, big number 60. You want to know how big? 6'3", 249. And he knocks him down after a gain of about 2.5. They'll call it 3rd and 5 in a passing situation.
Yes, and we'll see Stockstill's arm be put to the test here. I'm sure they're going to throw.
How sure are you? You know, it's dangerous to make predictions in the broadcast booth. You know that. I've been wrong so many times, I know that. But you're all right. They are going to throw. Here's the blitz. Screen pass to Michael Whiting. Michael is out over the 25, but he's stopped just short of the 1st down area to the 28. A good call under the situation, but the Seminoles fall a couple of yards short.
Of course, Jerry Stovall had a comment when they said that FSU was going to run more this year. He said, well, what run more means is that if they pass 25 times in the past, they'll just pass 20 now. So he still expects Bobby Bowden's team to throw the ball quite extensively.
So in the punt for the first time this season for the Seminoles comes Ron Stark. And Ronnie, of course, from Minnesota. He's got a very excellent foot on him. We all know that from last year. Ronnie's punting game is an excellent weapon.
One of the worst days he had was right here at Tiger Stadium last year, Tom. So we'll see if he does better.
Chris Williams, number 22, is the primary punt returner, and now we're going to have a delay of game call against the Seminoles. You got 25 seconds to get the playoff in college football. A few seconds shorter than in the pros, and they are enforcing it tonight.
Well, we have an opportunity. I wanted to mention that there are some tickets available for the Louisville game next week, and they've got a great deal, a 2 for the price of 1 deal, so that means you get 2 tickets for $10. So if you don't have your tickets for the game in Campbell Stadium, go right down tomorrow and get them. And
Bobby Bowden is pacing on the sidelines. He doesn't like to see any of those penalties, especially execution penalties like delay of game against the Seminoles. But Stark gets off a beauty of a punt, and Tracy Porter will make the fair catch sign, and he'll stop. His momentum actually carried into the 25, but they're going to mark it at the 28. And with 2:33 remaining in the first quarter, the score, Florida State 6, LSU nothing. Tom Mees and Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium on the campus of LSU in Baton Rouge. After that 50-yard punt by Ron Stark, LSU tried to then sweep around the right side with Jesse Miles, and he ran a long way sideways, but only picked up a couple of yards towards the other team's goal line, Jim, so they mark it at the 29-yard line and call it 2nd and 8 coming up for LSU.
Tom, you know, there's a new rules change this year that's very interesting. It's called the chop block rule. Last year, they were getting away quite frequently with one man standing Simmons up at the line and another man chopping his legs going down low. The officials saw this on replays of football games that, like I think the Florida game and the Oklahoma game. And primarily because of what they were doing to Simmons, they've instituted a rule that you cannot chop a player's legs on the offensive line. So this may help free Ron up even more than he was last year.
Well, we certainly hope so from a Florida State standpoint. You know, that's an excellent rule change because a lot of kids' knees and shins and legs were just getting broken up, and we hate to see anybody injured in football. They
also did something to help the offensive linemen. Now they can do like the pros do. They can't extend their arms just so they don't get them up on the shoulder pads. So those are two real interesting rule changes.
All right, let's see if the Seminoles can muster their talents on defense again. Keep the Tigers from moving upfield. Second down, 8 yards to go. LSU taking a timeout there. Hokie, Gaijon, Jesse Miles the setbacks, but Risher is back to throw. Got the time, and complete and incomplete to Jesse Miles. That's a wet football out there. Miles couldn't hang on at about the 31, and Reggie Herring was in the area if he did.
And he made the cardinal sin there. He looked upfield to see where he was going to run with it before he actually had hauled it in. And this quarter is going fast, Tom.
It certainly is, with Florida State ahead 6-0, a minute 57 left to go in the first quarter. And not an empty seat in this house, you can be sure of that. Tracy Porter, along with Lionel Wallace, are the split receivers for Alan Risher. Second down, make it third down and 8. Here's the blitz. Reggie Herring on the blitz, and Risher goes right down. Reggie Herring timed the snap perfectly.
That's right, and Bobby has thrown in 2 blitzes here, and you don't usually see that many in 3 quarters from him.
Well, Alan Risher, number 7 there, as you see on your screen, is an inexperienced quarterback, his first varsity game, and if you're not counting on the blitz, all of a sudden they dump that on you, along with Ron Simmons and everything else, you're liable to get shaken up. So it is LSU's Dave Johnston on the punt again. Gets it off. It's a wobbly punt. It'll land at the Seminole 36-yard line, and Gary Henry lets it bounce out of bounds. I think that's a wise decision, and we almost lost ourselves a linesman. But LSU will take over there. First down and 10 on their own 31-yard line. WECA Television, proud to be bringing you Florida State football for the 2nd year in a row. And don't forget, we'll be at the Orange Bowl on the 27th of this month as the Seminoles take on the Miami Hurricanes. Meanwhile, we'd like to see a full house at Doak Campbell next Saturday night when the Louisville Cardinals come to town, and they'll also be sporting a new head coach.
That's right, and then East Carolina will the next week. So they got 3 new coaches to go against in 3 weeks, the Seminoles do.
By the way, East Carolina won today. We'll give you some scores in a moment. Here's Stockstill. Throws the ball complete to Childers, the tight end, and Sam Childers from Leon High School gathers it in and takes it up to the 40-yard line. In on that tackle for LSU, Lyman White, Mr. Everything, who had 229 solo tackles last year. That's incredible. And we have less than a minute now in the first quarter. Second down and 2. 2 25-yard field goals off the foot of Bill Capice, who've given the Seminoles the lead as Jerry Stovall wipes some of the perspiration off his glasses. It's very humid in this stadium and in this state tonight. Sam Platt, the pitch out, first down. Platt up to the 45. And Jim, you notice the Florida State runners are putting both hands over that ball. They see what's happening on the other side, and they don't want to fumble it.
You got to do that on a night like tonight. It's not only slippery on the field, but it's kind of humid here. And these mistakes you just can't make them in your own territory.
So they mark it just short of the 45-yard line. Unglaub and Phil Williams, the wide receivers, and the clock running. 35 seconds left in the first quarter. Stockstill gives it to Sam Platt, who's been a busy man so far tonight. This time it backfires. Platt is brought down for a loss about a yard behind the line of scrimmage. Lyman White was in there, as he almost always is, along with Al Richardson and Lawrence Williams.
You know, Jerry Stovall played here when the Chinese Bandits were the big thing. He played both ways. He was a defensive player as well as an offensive player, and then he played defense in the pros, so they expect him to build a good defense at LSU.
Clock running. We may not get another playoff. Yes, we do. This is the last play of the first quarter. Give to Michael Whiting to the 45, and Whiting up to midfield. It'll be a third down and 5 upcoming for the Seminoles. But that's the end of the first quarter of play. And with the score, Florida State 6, LSU nothing. We'll be back in a moment. Back at Tiger Stadium, Tom Mees with Jim Crosby. It was third down and 5 for the Seminoles at midfield as we open up the second quarter of play. And Stockstill went back and threw complete over the middle. I believe it was to
Dennis McKinnon
for the first down, but we have a flag now in the Seminole backfield. McKinnon had about 5 yards to spare in the first down, but you see the penalty being walked off now against the Seminoles. And we'll get the indication from the referee as to what it is. We know it's 15 yards from the spot of the foul. It is holding called against Florida State.
Interestingly enough, that was the first play I've seen Dennis McKinnon in the game, Tom, and McKinnon has been called the most exciting player that Bobby Bowden has seen come into FSU.
Well, I was down for the spring game at Tallahassee, and he certainly thrilled a lot of people with some of his antics catching passes in that game. McKinnon now is being employed in the slot, just to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's third down 23. Stockstill, hands off. They tried to cross him up with a draw play to Whiting, but having none of it was big number 92, defensive end Tim Joyner for the LSU Bengal Tigers, and Ronnie Stark is going to have to punt.
You know, the Chinese Bandits had a little slogan that they always used, and they're trying to bring it back at LSU. Arrive at the ball, arrive in a hurry, and arrive in a bad unit. And I think that's what Stovall's trying to do.
Just a few seconds ago, you saw one of the reasons this stadium is filled. They want to look at pretty girls. It's a favorite pastime everywhere. Here's Stark's punt, and Tracy Porter gathers it in at the 35, and he'll not get too far as the Florida State special teams were down there to stop him. Number 30 for the Seminoles. Larry Harris, running back, makes the stop. So it'll be first and 10 for Alan Risher and the LSU Tigers. They'll start at their own 38. Some other scores today. Georgia Tech, a loser at Alabama. The Crimson Tide win at 26-3. Colorado State beat Air Force 21-9. East Carolina, which comes into Campbell Stadium soon, at Duke. East Carolina beat the Blue Devils 35-10. Let's get back to the action. First and 10 for LSU. He backs. Guy-John and Miles. The pass for Miles over the middle. Complete. Alan Richer hits Jesse Miles. Keith Jones was there to make the tackle, but not before Miles picks up a first down to the 39.
Let's take a look at the replay. Somebody cleared out the cornerback on that side, and he got behind the linebacker and in front of the safety, and Risher dumped it in very nicely as you see him going back. Good protection. He gets it away just before the hammer. Scott gets there, just over the head of Herring, and he was tackled there. I guess that's Keith Jones making the hit.
So it's first and 10 for LSU as they made their deepest penetration into Florida State territory at the 38-yard line. In motion goes Orlando McDaniel. Another fumble by Risher, and he'll just be satisfied to hang on to it, pick up a yard, as I believe Mark Majek makes the stop on him. Or make that McLean. McLean, the defensive end. Scott McLean, 6'4", 220-pound junior out of Claremont. Alan Risher drying off his hands, Jim.
All right, Scott McLean is, of course, replacing Scott Warren, who played on that end last year. Jarvis Coursey, it looks like they have two defensive ends on that side. They're playing McLean at tackle and Coursey at end.
Risher again back to throw, makes no bones about it. Screen pass to Miles, nice catch. Jesse Miles actually tripped over his own blocker, Jim, or else he would have gotten the first down. As it is, he's out about the 30-yard line as Jerry Stovall claps his approval. Coming over there to help make a tackle on the play for Florida State, James Harris. We're going to see it again.
Okay, Risher doing just what Stovall had indicated that he'd like to do. Get these little short passes to his backs and receivers. Try to get them isolated and get them some running room. And Reggie Herring tripped him up there, or else he would have gotten more yardage.
All right, it'll be a third down and one. Third down and one for LSU, and they mark it right at the Florida State 30. The back's in tight. The give is to Jude Hernandez, who was called in specifically to get a first down earlier in the ball game, and I believe he's got it, but we're going to have to wait for a measurement. You know, I always guess on these things, and I'm always wrong, so let's look at the replay.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the charge of the LSU offensive line. See the defenders trying to get low, and the guy that really made the tackle, I think, once again, was Scott McLean, but they're going to have to measure.
Well, if Miles got the first, or rather Hernandez, if Hernandez got the first down, he just got it. We're going to take a look at the measurement right now. Ball is marked just about the 28-yard line. Oh, is this going to be close? It is. Oh, there you see it, a few inches short. few inches short. Third down and inches. Make it fourth down and inches. Fourth down and inches for LSU. The scoreboard clock is a little bit short on the downs. Changing of the downs here. And Jerry Stovall says we're going to go for it. He is shunning the field goal. Don Bartel does not have great range. At least he did not last year. So LSU is, rather than chancing the three, going to go for the first down. Seems like a safe play when you're down on the other guy's territory and you're at home. Just the one wide receiver, Lionel Wallace, at the top of your screen. Everybody else in tight. Risher to Hokie Gaijon. It's going to be very close. I don't believe he made it. But we're going to wait and see. Some great penetration by Reggie Herring, who came up at the snap, and also in there, Gary Futch, number 79. First and 10, Florida State. They did not make it.
Let's watch it on the replay. You see them submarining once again, and Gaijon dives, and he hits Herring, and also number 79, Gary Futch.
Oh, great play by Gary Futch as he just turned Gaijon upside down, and one of the key plays in the first half with 12:05 remaining.
Tom, you know, Gary Futch had Ron Simmons' old job as a bouncer this summer.
I wouldn't want to mess with him. I used to live next to him in Tallahassee when I was down in that area. Well, LSU's defense comes back in kind. As into the ball game to tote the ball for the Seminoles was Larry Harris, and he got chopped down for a loss.
That was his first carry as a Seminole in a regular season game.
Well, I think he'd like to forget that one.
Right.
They mark it a yard loss back at the 29, second down and 11. Excellent pursuit that time by the Tiger defense. Lyman White, number 94, defensive end. It's all over the place. Here he comes. And Stockstill just did get the ball off, and the referee says it is not intentional grounding. He was trying to throw to a receiver, and indeed he was. He's out in the area was Childers.
That Atia was in there very quickly that time. He is a super nose guard. Also now in the backfield for the Seminoles is number 20, Ken Burnett. They were thinking about redshirting him, but he had such good fall practices that he's earned his way up to second string.
So they called it no gain, of course, on the incompleted pass. It'll be third down and 11. The ball is on the Seminole 29. And they're not going to pass. They give us to Burnett. And again, LSU is not fooled as Burnett carries to the 31 where Lyman White chops him down. And the Seminoles are going to have to punt again.
They're really going to have to open up. LSU was cautious to start with because they were burned so much by the Seminoles in the passing game last year. And now they've seen that the Seminoles are not going to open up right away, and they've just stopped down that running game, and the Seminoles are going to have to get something going in the air.
So Ronnie Stark is back to punt. He'll stand on his 17. He'll get it off from about the 22-yard line. Nice snap. No rush to speak of. It is a high spiraling punt. Oh, and a punt by Stark. Porter back at his 15. And he'll be down at the 17. And with timeout on the field, the score is Florida State 6, LSU nothing. Tom Mees with Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. The LSU Tigers on a carry by Risher, the quarterback, up to the 25-yard line. This is a second down and 3 play now. A gain of about 7. Risher handing off to Jesse Miles. He'll be short of the first down. And in there first was Mark Maychek, number 67. And he made a nice stop.
His name has been pronounced so many different ways.
I've already pronounced it 3 times.
And I asked him on picture day just to get it straight how you should pronounce it, and he said Motzik.
Motzik.
So,
okay, you know, even the Florida State press officials pronounce it differently.
Right, and the PA man's saying something else here. So,
all right, Motzik makes the tackle, just short of the first down mark. It'll be 3rd and 1. LSU has that full house backfield again. Wishbone type formation. Risher hands it off to Jude Hernandez, and Hernandez has the first down before Monk Bonasorte. The senior out of Pittsburgh comes up to make the stop. Monk, of course, had a big interception here at Tiger Stadium last year to stave off a last-minute LSU drive.
Bonasorte's been called good, and he's been called lucky. But he always seems to be in the right place at the right time.
So 1st and 10 for the LSU Tigers at their own 30. We have 9:02 left to go in the first half on Channel 27's coverage of Seminole football.
Let's watch Monk Bonasorte on the replay as he comes up to make the tackle. and got by Butler there, and Bonasort made a solid tackle.
Meanwhile, back live, Alan Risher back to pass. He's pressured and he's put down at the 18-yard line. Arthur Scott, the senior out of Tampa, 6'4" and 249 pounds, makes the stop.
Scott's one of the more consistent players on the team. Since he earned that defensive end spot, he's stayed right there, and he's just day in and day out. He doesn't seem to get injured. Seems to do just a steady job all the time.
That'll make it second down at 21 for the freshman Alan Risher, who's had a tough night so far in his debut as the LSU quarterback, taking over for Steve Ensminger and company, who performed so well here for so many years. The give is to Jesse Miles, and smelling that one out, I believe, is Reggie Herring, who was coming on another blitz. He was the first one to make the stop.
Reggie Herring out of Titusville came up from his linebacker position and made a nice stop there. Before that sack by Arthur Scott, that came at a most opportune moment, because you could just feel this LSU team gaining momentum and gaining confidence. They've had a lot of problems here early, and they've really been struggling, and if you ever let them get their foot in the door, it's only a 6-0 lead.
That's true. Less than a touchdown and an extra point. All right, Orlando McDaniel and Willie Turner, two wideouts, both at the top of your screen. It's third down and 18. Definite passing formation for Risher. He's looking to the bottom of your screen for Turner, and does he have it or not? No, it's out of bounds. He was looking for Tracy Porter. Pardon me, it's my mistake. Tracy Porter, number 21, and Porter did not have either foot in bounds.
Take a look at it from a defensive angle. You see the coverage and coming up very fast, and Bonasort makes, when he hits you, he makes it a solid hit, and he knocked him out of bounds. He lost control of the ball.
So coming into punt again for LSU is Dave Johnston. How you doing there, Tiger? Hello there. The Tiger mascot on hand. Good rush, and it is tipped, partially blocked. Partially blocked in there by Florida State's Bobby Butler, and the ball lands at the LSU 39-yard line. So a great play by Butler.
Big play. Bobby blocked one against Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. He blocked one that went for a touchdown against Louisville last year, and here you'll see him again blocking this punt. Bobby Butler flying through the air, and he got it. He leaped pretty high to get that. He didn't get it right off with his foot.
And also what he didn't do is he did not hit the kicker. It is not roughing the kicker. A clean block by Bobby Butler. So another big play for the Seminoles. They take over first and 10 on the LSU 39. 6-0 Florida State. 7:15 left in the first half. Stockstill with the handoff to Sammy Platt. And he slipped one tackle, but is finally brought down for no more than a yard gain. And there's that man again, 94, Lyman White.
You know, the first quarter stats have been given to us, and it was just like everybody here had been saying, that it was going to be a defensive struggle. FSU rushed 12 times for 40 yards, LSU 10 for 30, 11 yards passing for FSU, 41 for LSU, so not a very big offensive explosion at all. FSU completed 2 of 2, LSU 3 of 6.
Artis Johnson and Phil Williams are the wideouts. Here's Stockstill, back to throw. Sideline pass. He just threw that out of bounds. Sammy Platt was in the area, and we're going to get a penalty. And I have to say, Jim, that although Platt was in the area, that intentional grounding's the proper call.
And it also happened right in front of the LSU bench, and they made sure that the officials were alert.
And also happened right in front of the official. So you just don't do that. It's like getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. And they'll march it back to the 50-yard line. And let me add up the arithmetic. 21 yards now for a first down. 3rd and 21. So loss it down on that play.
Okay, we'll take a look at the intentional grounding here as Rick Stockstill being forced out of the pocket, rolling out, and there's nobody open, so he just throws it away. He tried to make it look like he was throwing it to Platt. Some refs might have let that go.
Nice acting job, but caught this time. Okay, 3rd and 21. You know Stockstill's going to put it up this time. Has the time. Over the middle. McKinnon, the intended receiver, but it's intercepted. No, they call it incomplete. Call it incomplete. Marcus Quinn claims that he caught that ball, Jim, before it hit the turf. But the official says no, and let's look at it again.
Yeah, we'll see if he caught it or not. Okay, Rick Stockstill taking the snap from John Madden. And you notice Rick looking. His primary receiver was down the right side, obviously. And the ball is just about on the ground, And it's close, but he smothered it on the ground. I think it was a proper call.
He may have had it to begin with, but then he fell on top of it, and the referee says you didn't have control, son. So it's 4th down, and Ron Stark will punt. But I'm sure the Seminoles would rather punt than have LSU intercepted about the 25-yard line. Stark's got plenty of time aiming it for the sidelines, but it'll go way out of the end zone. So, with 6:19 remaining in the first half, the score, Florida State 6, LSU nothing. Alan Risher with 5:50 left to go in the first half. It's 2nd down and 6. We missed the first play of the drive. We apologize for you. It was a 4-yard pickup by Mahfouz. Mahfouz is in there, and he'll keep the ball. Mahfouz is open. Mahfouz to the 50-yard line. And Bobby Butler has to bring him down at the Florida State 44-yard line. So Robbie Mahfouz, a junior from Lafayette, Louisiana, has a great debut.
We're going to take a look at that again. Robbie Mahfouz, who played for his father over there, and his first play, or his second play from scrimmage, this has to get him pumped up and give him some confidence as he ran right through Motzik. He got past Scott. That was a great block on Arthur Scott. Another great block there. And Mahfouz with the first down.
All right, back to the live action. To give is to Miles, Jesse Miles, and this time Miles is stopped for a yard gain. Porowski was the first one in there. Paul Porowski, I tell you, every time I see Florida State play, I'm more impressed with that young man. I shouldn't say young man, he's been around a while.
He's the comeback player of the year last year because he had major knee surgery the year before, and it didn't slow him down any. He came back strong.
2nd down and 9 after the yard gain. Keep in mind that Mahfouz, number 15, just coming in this series of plays. At halftime, we'll talk to the great All-Pro Y.A. Tittle. Mahfouz has trouble with the snap. And coming up to make the stop for the Seminoles is James Gilbert, who's in there, number 51. And Mahfouz will be called for no gain, or I should say a loss of a yard or two. You know, I'm looking forward to meeting Y.A. Tittle at halftime. I saw that guy play for so many years.
He's a fabulous ball player and a great person.
Oh, he was an All-American here, of course, at LSU, and he went on to start him with the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Giants. And we'll chat with Y.A. and see what the Bald Eagle is doing now.
Robbie Mahfouz, in the first scrimmage they had this year, completed 19 of 21 passes, and that's good even if you don't have defenders out there.
Well, now he's in a passing situation, 3rd and 13. Mahfouz looking long, incomplete, out of bounds. Out of bounds is Willie Turner. Bobby Butler makes sure of that.
Turner's got great speed like they all do on this LSU flank, but you got to catch the ball in bounds. He was about 3 or 4 yards out of bounds, and it looks like the punting team is going to come in for the Bayou Bengals, and Gary Henry is going to be back to field it. Now would be a good time for him to try to change the momentum of this game like he did on several occasions last year.
Gary Henry back to receive the punt. He fumbles it at the 15. He's just going to fall on it to make sure that the Seminoles retain possession, and that he does at the 13-yard line. The punt by Johnston. Hard to handle that time for Gary Henry, and keep in mind that this field is very, very wet. It rained, I mean to tell you, it rained hard here most of the day. Stopped about 3:45, but they did not have a tarp on this field. They took the tarp off early this morning. As soon as they took it off, it started pouring. And they didn't put it back on. That's why the field is a bit slippery. Those cheerleaders don't seem to care, however.
You surely don't want to make a mistake down here.
Not deep in your own territory. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stock still play it safe. Leading 6-0. The give is to Michael Whiting. And Whiting is tackled in there by a member of that front four of LSU. Benji Thibodeau is in there. Al Richardson also on the play. So they call it a gain of 3.
Pardon me, Tom. For a veteran offensive line, all seniors, like FSU has, they are really not moving this defensive front wall around.
Well, that's one of the things, one of the strong points of LSU coming into the season was their defensive front. You have an excellent offensive line at Florida State going against a likewise excellent line of LSU. But Sammy Platt breaks through for a few yards, call it a gain of 3 up to the 21-yard line. And this will make it 3rd down, and I'd say about 4 to go for the first. Timmy Joyner, big number 92, and James Britt coming up from his cornerback position make the stop.
The Seminoles are going to have to open it up if they're going to get any yardage, but they just can't afford to do it right down here. I think they'd be content to go into halftime right now with a 6-0 lead, Tom. It's looking...
They'd be content to call it off right now and leave here with a 6-0 victory. Any victory in Tiger Stadium by any margin is a good one. Now the Seminoles jump offside. And
that's Ricky Render on the left side.
Yeah, Ricky Render is in there as a tight end's position. He's listed as a defensive tackle, but he was in at tight end. And he's mad at himself. And, Jim, this happens lots of times with a fella just fresh into the game, first game jitters.
And probably you don't get back in when you do that sometimes. Okay, let's see Ricky Render jump off sides here.
Well,
whoops, also, I tell you, it looked like Ken Lanier moved first, and Ken's the veteran. Senior, All-South on the Southern Independent team. Made a couple of All-American honorable mentions.
Yeah, it was Ken Lanier. So it brings up a 3rd down and 7 situation. A little bit more difficult deep in your own territory. The give is to Sammy Platt. Make that Whiting. Give is to Whiting, and Whiting up to the 20-yard line. But all he really wanted to do there was hold on to the ball and get it in good punting position. And he does lug it up to the 20, so Ron Stark will be in there. And I believe that LSU will be coming on this punt.
Stark needs to get off a good one, because the way that Mahfouts was moving this team last time that they had the ball, they really could put the Seminoles in a hole here.
All right, we have a timeout call on the field right now. Timeout has been called by LSU. It is their 2nd timeout called in this half. Florida State still has all 3 of its timeouts. And while we have a moment, Jim, let's run down some of the scores from around the country. Illinois over Northwestern 35-9. Kentucky beat Utah State, a close one in Lexington 17-10. North Carolina over Furman 35-13. Purdue, Mark Herman was injured in his opener this year, and Notre Dame playing at South Bend, where they're always tough, beat Purdue 31-10. Maybe you can run down some more for us.
Okay, one that people might be interested in, Virginia Tech is going to be coming into Campbell Stadium this year, and they only edged by Wake Forest by 9-7. And of course Cincinnati, who's been an opponent for the Seminoles, lost to West Virginia 41-27.
Of course, Mike Parsons, who had been the assistant under Mark Carlson at Florida State, is the SID at West Virginia, and they christened their new 50,000-seat stadium up there today. And of course, Bobby Bowden, for many years, the head coach at West Virginia. So some Tallahassee connections up there, and congratulations to the Mountaineers in their victory. Ron Stark back to punt. It's an excellent punt again. A high spiraling one, and Turner is going to gather it in at the 26. He's going to try a return. He's up to the 35-yard line, where Turner is brought down. And with 2:05 remaining in the first half, the score, Florida State 6, LSU nothing. It was not for that gentleman, but LSU guilty of holding on the punt. So Florida State picks up a 1st down at the 39-yard line. You can't say the Seminoles haven't had the breaks here in the first half. Here's the give to Sammy Platt. Breaks a tackle, and Platt on a good run up to the 44 after it looked like he might be thrown for a loss, and he picks up 5, make it 2nd down and 5 with the clock running now, less than 2 minutes in the half. I'd like to say hello to a former Florida State cheerleader who we understand is in serious condition at the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, but watching tonight, Will Law. Will, all the best to you, and get well soon, and we hope the Seminoles can bring you a victory. 2nd down and 5 now. The I formation are the backs, Whiting and Platt. Sam Platt's been a busy man tonight. Have to check his carries in the first half. Here's a pitch out to Platt. Got some blocking. He's got the 1st down. Sammy Platt to midfield, and that'll stop the clock. So, Jim, with 1:20 officially left to go in the first half, the 2 field goals in the first quarter by Bill Capice standing up, and LSU victimizing themselves with penalties, helping the Florida State cause along.
Be interesting to know how many tackles Lyman White has. And as well as assists, he was in on that. You just see that 94 around the ball all the time.
He's one of those players where you can call his number on every play as a play-by-play man and hardly ever be wrong, because he's always there. Dennis McKinnon split down out of sight at the bottom of your screen right now. Stock still rolling right. Childers, the tight end, cannot make the catch. Almost intercepted at the 40-yard line, but Childers, the tight end, wet football down there, could not hang on.
It was right in and out of his hands. Of course, Rick Stockstill trying to get something going through the air now. Coach Bobby Bowden on our pregame show, as the folks saw, I'm sure, when asked if Stockstill could throw long, said he can throw long like Wally and Jimmy. It just doesn't go as fast. He's accurate, but he doesn't throw it as hard.
Well, with the defensive backfield, you know, they used to call them the Soul Patrol, but now that Willie Teal has gone at LSU, I guess it's the Soul Patrol -1, but they can still all run very fast. 2nd down at 10. Stockstill going to go on a flare out to Platt. Sam Platt, no blocking, and therefore cannot get too far beyond the line of scrimmage. And Platt is brought down on a defensive backfield by Alvin Thomas, who comes up to force and make the stop.
They had 3 defenders over on this side, and the wide receiver tried to take them deep, but they didn't fall for it, and they came up quickly. And it looks like a 3rd and long yardage, and this is the time you really want some zip on the ball as the clock runs down.
Well, the clock runs down. I guess Bobby Bowden is not going to stop the clock with his timeouts. He's letting the clock roll. It is now 18 seconds and rolling before we reach the end of the first half, and now we have a timeout, Florida State. So, with a timeout on the field, the score, Florida State 6, LSU nothing. Back at Tiger Stadium, Tom Mees with Jim Crosby, and Dennis McKinnon is the first thing you saw on your screens, catching a pass from Rick Stockstill with the clock stopped now, 9 seconds left in the half. We're going to take a look at it again.
Okay, let's look at the instant replay. Stockstill looks right, then looks back left, and as McKinnon gets free over the middle just before Stockstill was hit, he showed good poise there and completed it right in front of the secondary.
Rydell Melancon was the man putting on the pressure for LSU, and the pass is completed down to the Tiger 40, we'll call it 41.5-yard line. It'll bring up a 4th down situation, and about a yard to go with 9 seconds left in the first half. Hello there, how are you? Enjoying the game? Who's that guy beside you? Get rid of him. Wish I had mental telepathy, you know that?
There are about 2,500 or so Seminole fans up here, I think, tonight, Tom, and they were making a lot of noise early, but it's hard for 2,500 to go against 76,000 and to make any dent or any impression.
I want to tell the Seminole fans that Ron Simmons has not been in the last couple of series on defense because of a right ankle injury, the way we understand it. We'll try and get a little bit more clarification for you later on. Simmons' right ankle is bothering him. That's why Jimmy Gilbert is in there on defense. But now here are the Seminoles with perhaps the last play of the first half. A pitch out to Platt. Platt picks up the first down, but can they stop the clock? Yes, they do. 2 seconds left in the first half. And Florida State will have a first down on the LSU 35-yard line. Now, 2 ways to go here. Try to go for it all in the air, or else bring in Bill Capice to attempt his 3rd field goal, and that's what they're going to do. You really have very little to lose here. If it's blocked, there's only 2 seconds left in the game.
There's a good block out on the flank by Lee Adams, a guard who pulled out to make that go for a first down.
All right, the holder will be Kurt Unglad. They're going to place it at the 42-yard line. Capice attempting a 52-yard field goal. This would be something if he did it, but he does have the range. He is already hit on 2 from 25 yards out, relatively short compared to this.
Even when Dave Capellan was the kicker, they used Capice on real long kicks, so he is a long-distance kicker.
Well, I understand he's kicked him as long as 55. So let's hope that he has this one true. You know, this field will play a part in this. The footing down there is not the best, and of course, Capice coming in soccer style has got to plant that foot. This is the last play of the first half, barring a penalty. The snap is good. The kick is up, but it's going to be short. Going to be short. On line, but short. So the first half has come to an end on Channel 27 with Florida State leading the LSU Bengal Tigers, the Seminoles 6, and LSU nothing. We'll be right back.
Leading 6-0. They had 5 first downs, and LSU had 6. And the Seminoles rushed 23 times for only 67 yards. And how about this for being even? LSU ran 22 times for 67 yards. The Tigers had 78 yards through the air. That was 5 completions in 10 attempts. The Seminoles hit 4 out of 7 for only 20 yards. So the total offense looks like this. Florida State with a paltry 87 yards of total offense, and LSU with 145 yards. Of course, Ron Stark punted 4 times for 47 yards, and LSU punted 4 times for 35 yards. Seminoles lost a fumble, or rather they fumbled 1 time and recovered it, and LSU had 4 fumbles, and they recovered 2. Seminoles penalized 4 times for 50 yards, and LSU penalized 4 times for 44 yards. Individually, Sam Platt ran 13 times for 49 yards, as long as a gainer was an 11-yard run. Mike Whiting ran 6 times and only gained 13 yards. Rick Stockstill, 4 of 7, we told you. And in receiving, Whiting, Childers, and McKinnon were the receivers that caught passes. The longest pass completion tonight for Florida State, and this is a real come down from former years, was an 8-yard pass to Sam Childers. On the other end of the ledger, individually for LSU, Mahfoots rushed twice for 27 yards, and Jesse Miles 8 times for 22. Alan Risher completed 5 out of 9 for 78 yards, and Jesse Miles caught 3 passes, and Tracy Porter caught 2. So that's about the way it looks as you see the Florida State Seminoles coming back on the field, Tom.
That's right. Ken Lanier had the meeting with the LSU tri-captains, Hokie Gaijon, Marcus Quinn, and Lyman White just a few moments ago, and they've decided what goals each team will go after in the second half. And here come the Seminoles on the field, and some 2,700 fans there right at the edge of the stands giving them a big cheer. Let's hope we can carry this thing through now to a victory. My suspicions were correct about Sam Platt, Jim. Used very often in the first half. 13 carries is a lot in the first half of play.
I think the Seminoles will definitely have to open up more, and of course they're going to have to compensate defensively. And you know, we saw LSU start moving the ball, and of course when Simmons is out of there, a lot of times this team is just a completely different team.
And don't forget Ron Simmons. It's obvious he won't be able to play the rest of this game, and they are going to miss his talents in the second half of play.
Tom, while we have a moment, let me mention that the new book written about Bobby Bowden, written by Mike Bynum, called Bound for Glory, is now available at the FSU Seminole Booster office and also from the local bookstores in Tallahassee. And it costs $10.95 if you want it mailed. It's $1 for postage and handling. And the proceeds of this book about Bobby Bowden, and it's a good one. I read it in one sitting. It's about 239 pages. Read it. I got so fired up on picture day, I went back and read the book. That all the proceeds go to the Florida State athletic program, primarily to football.
You're watching Seminole football on WECA television, channel 27 in Tallahassee, and we're happy to be with you for the second year in a row. I'm Tom Mees, along with WECA sports director Jim Crosby, and the LSU Bengal Tigers are amassed at their goal post, and the cheerleaders ready to bring them onto the field, and this crowd of over 76,000 is going to get them charged up, and here come the Tigers as the Seminoles, as is usually the case, the visiting team comes out first. The home team always likes to get a big yell when they come on the field. That's per usual. Well, we're going to, as I said, we're going to have to watch the play of Jimmy Gilbert in this second half. He's the substitute, if you will, if there is a substitute for Ron Simmons, and we know that Ron's ankle is being x-rayed, and we can only hope again that it isn't serious.
Gilbert has worked real hard, and he's got a lot of playing experience from last year, so I think he can do the job, but there's just no doubt about it. There are no two Ron Simmons.
Hey, we want to remind all Seminole fans that there are still plenty of tickets available for next week's FSU Louisville game at home. These tickets are being sold on a buy one, get one free special. Hey, you can't beat that with a stick. Pick up your tickets at the athletic ticket office inside Tully Gym. Tiny Tully is the place to go. Buy one, get one free. Next Saturday night, let's fill up Campbell Stadium to welcome the Seminoles home. But more importantly, let's get them through this first half, rather the second half, with a victory. 6-0 to score. We're set to go. LSU will be kicking off. First time LSU's had a chance to kick off in the ball game, Jim, and I'm sure Bobby Bowden is happy about that. And handling the kickoffs for LSU, if they gave me the right information, is Jesse Miles, the excellent running back, and they did not give me the right information. It is going to be a fellow who does not appear on our roster.
That's true.
Try and find out who it is. The fellow's number is 43, but the information we were giving is that Miles was the kickoff man.
We're going to get an opportunity to see Dennis McKinnon, hopefully, if they get it back to him. Mr. Excitement back there.
All right, McKinnon is part of really a triple safety back there. Michael Whiting is back there also. Here's the kickoff of the second half, and we're underway. It's going to be McKinnon rushing up to taking it at the 15. And he slammed to the turf at the 19-yard line. Oh, what a hit by Rydell Melancon, number 99, and the Tigers get started with a hard hit for the second half.
Well, I don't know what kind of a halftime pep talk that they gave it, but they surely got that one man all fired up. As you see McKinnon having to wait because the ball was kicked high. And Rydell Melancon. Okay, Melancon. Wow, he just about took his head off.
He's a big freshman out of Metairie, Louisiana. Okay, 1st and 10 for the Seminoles. At the 19-yard line. In motion goes Williams. Stockstill, the pitch out to Sam Platt. His 14th carry of the ball game, unsuccessful. Timmy Joyner made sure of that as he closed that play down for a loss of about 4 back to the 15-yard line.
You know, Tim Joyner has done a fine job out on that defensive end. They're running away from Lyman White to the other end, and Joyner has taken control out there. So now they're stopping it on both sides.
I think the Seminoles getting a break on this play. They're placing that ball, Jim, just on the other side of the 18-yard line. I thought it was a bigger loss than it was. It was a loss of 1 yard. Second down at 11. Whiting and Platt are the setbacks in the I formation behind Rick Stockstill. Youngster in his first start for FSU. Pass to Platt, completed to 20. And Platt will go no farther. Making sure of that was Tommy Boudreau, sophomore free safety out of Montagut, Louisiana.
They're just unable to open up that defense. The defense is creeping up. They keep getting, the secondary men keep getting up tighter, and the defensive line is just controlling the line of scrimmage right now.
Unglog goes out. McKinnon comes in with Hardis Johnson. And McKinnon will split out to the bottom of your screen. He'll actually be out of view here. Williams to the top. Third down and 8 to go. Passing situation for Stockstill. Got the time. Got to get rid of it. He'll go down. Rick Stockstill goes down at the 11-yard line, and we're going to take a look at one of the finest defensive ends or roverbacks in the country, number 94, Lyman White. And watch the second effort here.
Okay, Lyman White, number 94, as you see him working against Lanier, reading the play, coming in, getting blocked by Futch, but not giving up. And this is what they teach you. If you ever go out to a practice, they say get up and go after the ball every time you fall down, no matter how hopeless it looks.
So Ron Stark punting from his end zone. He gets a high snap, but he gets the kick away. It will be taken at the 48-yard line. Fumble, and who's got it? It is fumbled. Florida State has recovered the football. Another fumble for LSU. Fumbling that football was Alvin Thomas. And let's see who the man is on top of it for Florida State. It is.
It looked like, well, let's see.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. One official has already signaled FSU ball. Now another official is questioning him. They're talking it over. And we have an officials conference at near midfield. We're going to have to wait and find out. It is Florida State football. And we're going to take a look at it again, and let's see who recovered it. The ball is dropped by Tracy Porter. It was Porter. And really,
it's hard to see.
Hard to see who got that ball. Williams.
All right, that's Brian Williams.
Brian Williams. The freshman made the recovery. All right. Important thing is FSU's got the football. First and 10 on their own 49. See if the Seminoles can take advantage of this break like they did the 2 fumbles in the first quarter. Hand off to Platt. Sammy Platt picks up 4, gets inside LSU territory at the 47. And the LSU cheerleader there a little bit down, Jim, as you might expect, your team trailing, and another fumble.
The Tiger fans really must be seething, because last year, every time they had a chance to get back in the ball game, they put the ball on the ground, and they can see an instant replay here in the first game of the season of what happened last year against FSU.
Hardis Johnson and Phil Williams, the wide receivers. Johnson bringing in the play from Bobby Bowden. Give is to Mike Whiting. Whiting clear. Whiting to the 40. Whiting to the 35, and a good run for a first down by Michael Whiting. James Britt tackles him and maybe saved a big gainer.
Okay, let's watch old Michael Whiting do his thing on the instant replay. You see Madden working against Atia. John Madden, who made his first start for FSU here last year. John Madden of Fort Walton Beach did a good job on a tough man.
He certainly did. He stood Atia right up, and that's what they teach you. Stand them up, control that line of scrimmage. And Atia did not control. He lost that battle, but he wins his share of them. First and 10 for the Seminoles at the 35. Mike Whiting, Perry's host of tacklers down to the 30. James Britt among them, number 11. Lyman White, there he goes, 94 again.
Okay, they're moving off that left side where the 2 best blockers on the team, Ken Lanier and Greg Futch, are. Futch had an interesting job this summer, Tom. He worked in a fish factory, and he said after working in a fish factory, when he'd go to the weight room in the afternoon, all the rest of the players would leave.
No comment. Second down, 5 yards to go. Seminoles. Pitch out goes to Sam Platt. Platt picks up a couple. Brought down by guess who? Lyman White. This guy is unbelievable. The pursuit he has and the determination.
The Seminoles are moving the ball, and they're doing it on the ground. Of course, they've got a little help with that turnover.
It'll be third down and 3.
But they've shown no passing game whatsoever, to be frank about it.
No, they haven't shown any consistent passing game, and you're right. 8 yards is the leading completion in this game for Florida State, but every football team has its own personality. Stock still can do more with the ball as far as running goes. Bobby Bowden admits that. Here's pressure. Stock still throws. Incomplete. Intended for the tight end Childers, and the pressure was coming from Lawrence Williams at the linebacker spot, number 34, and the Seminoles are going to have to punt.
Well, the defensive coordinator for LSU is Greg Williams, and he was the defensive coordinator at West Virginia for Bobby Bowden. So they know some of his tendencies, and they expected a lot of blitzes because he likes to do that, but they didn't get away with it that time.
I stand corrected. Here's Capiz for a field goal. It's at the 35, a 45-yard attempt. It is long enough, and it is good. 9, LSU, nothing.
Automakers of today have...
Bill Capiz to kick off after that 45-yard field goal, his third of the game, giving the Seminoles a 9-0 lead. Jesse Miles picks it up at the 5 for LSU. Got a hole. Jesse Miles to the 38-yard line, and a good tackle for the Seminoles by Bill Capiz, the kicker.
Capiz will stick his head more solidly built than Dave Capellan, who kicked last year. As a matter of fact, Capiz was a running back at Chaminade down in South Florida on the same team that David Shula played on. And as you see Jesse Miles running right up the middle, number 86 getting a hand on him, James Harris hitting in him, and also Bill Capiz getting right in there and trying to steal the ball.
Johnny McClain also was in there in that play. First and 10 for LSU at the 38. And the pass play is complete to the tight end for the Tigers, and that would be
I think that's
Greg LaFleur.
Right.
Greg LaFleur, right, the tight end, the first time we've seen him tonight.
Of course, his backup, Malcolm Scott, made a boo-boo, fumble one earlier, so...
well, he's not alone there.
Right.
What, is that 5 fumbles in the game now for LSU?
You know, that was a very important field goal. 9 points looks a lot better than 6 the way this game's going.
Orlando McDaniel and Tracy Porter are the split ends for LSU. It's pick up of 8 on that pass play, 2nd and 2, ball at the 47. And the give is to Jesse Miles. He's short of the first down. An excellent play for the Seminoles by Arthur Scott, making the first hit on the play. Reggie Herring was there too, Jim.
That's right. I'm sure that Bobby Bowden is a very concerned coach right now, though. You know, Bobby is offensively oriented, and the Seminoles knew that they were going to have a good defense, and they're shutting out LSU, of course. But LSU has the ball at midfield, and any little freak thing that would put them on the board puts them right back in there with a shot at a last-minute pullout or something, you know.
All right, a reserve tight end, another tight end. Malcolm Scott comes in, so we have 2 tight ends in there for LSU on this 3rd down and 1-yard situation. 3rd and 1 at the 47. Try to get just to the 48-yard line. And the quarterback, Alan Risher, who starts the second half, after being lifted in the second quarter, has the first down. And Paul Porowski makes the tackle. We're going to see Paul in action.
Okay, Paul starting from about 4 yards in back of the line. Good lateral movement, keeps his eye on the runner all the way, and grabs Risher and pulls him down.
Well, it has to make Alan Risher feel a little bit better getting the starting 9 at the start of the second half again after he was pulled in his first varsity start by head coach Jerry Stovall. 1st and 10 for the Tigers of LSU at the Florida State 47-yard line. The give is to the upback, Jesse Miles, and he goes absolutely nowhere. Reggie Herring is there. Gary Futch is there. You name them, they're there for the Seminoles. Also there was Arthur Scott.
I have to feel that that's a good move by Jerry Stovall if he still considers that Risher is going to be his #1 quarterback. As we look at the crowd And I defy you to find an empty seat there in Tiger Stadium. But Risher did have some problems, but he knows the talent and the potential that he has. And, of course, he doesn't want to destroy his confidence by not going back to him this game, even though Mahfoud's had a few good plays.
Okay, we go second down and 10 yards for the Tigers of LSU. They're at the Florida State 47. Gaijon and Miles, the setbacks. Hokie Gaijon hasn't carried much this game. Risher going long, intercepted by Bonasort at the 20. Monk Bonasort had to catch his number, makes the interception, and returns it to the 44-yard line, where he's bumped down to the ground, and Alan Risher had plenty of time that time, and Monk Bonasort stepped in front. The ball was actually fluttering forever in the air.
Monk Bonasort, who was 4th in the nation in interceptions last year with 8, of course, once again was in the right spot at the right time. The ball was poorly thrown. It was thrown right to him, but Monk, in great anticipation of where the play was going, was right there. And once again, LSU destroys their own drive with a turnover. Seminoles are going to be on the 43-yard line, so good field position on the return, Tom.
I'll tell you, the breaks have all gone Florida State's way tonight. That's not a negative comment. LSU has committed 5 fumbles, but that one, a good play by Monk Bonasort, the free safety. Here goes Stockstill on a 1st and 10. Wants to throw. It is complete into LSU territory at the 44 to Phil Williams. He makes the reception, and that should be a first down, barring penalty, and it is, with 7:29 left in the 3rd quarter, and FSU having a 9-0 lead.
I think we're going to see this pattern continue now, with Stockstill rolling out and throwing and trying to get away from the LSU rush, and also trying to open up that defense and get those men back off the line.
Artis Johnson in on this play. You all know the big reception he had for a touchdown last year in this game. And off is to Platt, the tailback in the eye, and Sammy Platt gets another first down. They're ripping off the chunks of yardage now, Jim, as Platt goes to the 31.
Well, that's what completing a pass will do for you. A little misdirection back as the secondary loosens up a little bit. They get back, and they don't want to let you hit one on them because you're in LSU territory, and they don't guard the middle like they did before.
So right, you get one thing working, it sets up another. This time the backs are split behind Stockstill. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles. 2 straight first downs. Michael Whiting, and Whiting is inside the 30 to the 30 or to the 25-yard line. Mike Whiting picking up about 7 yards on that play.
The same play that they ran before, it looked like, pretty much. Of course, we need to give some credit over there to a couple of guys who are doing a fine job on that right side now. Tom Brannon, the tackle, and Lee Adams, the guard. Of course, Lee Adams, who transferred here from Georgia Tech a few years ago, really coming on strong.
They call it a gain of 6 for Whiting. 2nd and 4. Pitch out to Platt. Turning the left end. Platt inside the 25 to the 23. He'll be short of the first down. Leonard Marshall, big defensive end, 6'3", 268. Where do they get all these big guys? Marshall makes the tackle.
They just naturally gravitate over here toward Tigerland.
I tell you, when I played football, Jim, many years ago, I was a halfback and weighed 168 pounds in high school. Now, that wouldn't even get you on as a flanker in high school.
Well, if you got hit once, you'd be a mere spot on the field.
That's for sure. I was seeing spots many times. 3rd and 3. Pitch out to Platt. We're going to have a reverse, a fake reverse. Platt keeps it. And I believe he got the first down. The fake reverse to Dennis McKinnon. And we're going to have to wait and see where the officials mark the ball. They've called timeout. 5:18 left to go in the 3rd quarter. 9-0 Seminoles. A 35-yarder, a 32-yarder, and a 45-yard field goal for Bill Capice. And we're going to measure.
Let's take a look at the measurement here as they bring out the chains. This could be a very important measurement. If the Seminoles could get something on the board here, they would feel like they had the game really well under control, because LSU has not shown any consistent offense. And you know, last night when we were talking to Jerry Stovall, you remember when we talked about, do you think you can rattle the new quarterback Rick Stockstill? And he said, I'm not concerned about Stockstill. What I'm concerned about is that tough FSU defense with 8 seniors on it.
Well, they made a very good point. If Florida State has some problems, they have experienced people they can adjust with. LSU has problems. They got to take out sophomores and put in freshmen, and that tells the tale. And on 1st and 10, down at the 20 or so yard line, make it the 21. The give is to Michael Whiting, and Whiting is down inside the 20-yard line. Pickup of a couple on the play as Bobby Bowden and the Seminoles running off some time on this drive. Jim, we're under 5 minutes now, 4:45 left in the third quarter. I know you said hello at halftime to Marianne Laughlin and Al Willis, but I want to do the same. Had the pleasure of working with those two fine people for just about a year and really enjoyed it. Hope they're enjoying the game. I hope you're enjoying them on Channel 27. Meanwhile, Michael Whiting takes the ball for a gain of about 3 yards. Handoff from Stockstill. And Rick goes over to the sidelines to get a towel to dry things off. They'll bring up a third down and about 7. We're going to take a look at Stockstill bobbling the ball and then holding on.
Okay, the snap doesn't make a firm connection between Madden and Stockstill, and that's what destroyed that play.
But the handoff was clean. Third down and 7. Big play deep in LSU territory. Stockstill, the flare pass to Whiting, and Whiting cannot hang on. They're going to call that incomplete. And maybe it's better they did, because Whiting would have been down for a loss. As it is, the ball will stay at the 18-yard line, and here comes Bill Capice again. They're going to mark this at the 25. This will be another 35-yard attempt.
You know, Tom, I saw Bill Capice at breakfast this morning, and Capice said to me with a smile on his face, "I'm going to kick 5 field goals tonight." And I said, you know, jokingly, "Well, what are you going to do in the second half?" This would be 4 if he put it through.
If he kicks 5 field goals tonight, I want to ask him who's going to win the next race at the track tomorrow. And this one is long enough, but no good. It's off to the right. And we have a penalty flag. Let's hold everything. We have a penalty flag on the play. The ball was long enough, but the kick was off to the right.
It's on LSU.
Well, if it is, that would be another great break for Florida State. We've already had 5 LSU fumbles. And we'll have to wait and get the official call now. They're marching the ball down the field.
They'd need more than 5 yards to get a first down.
It would be, well, they're going to get a first down.
Yeah,
they're marking
a major
the ball,
penalty.
Major penalty inside the 10. The flag came in the area of where Capice was kicking. And it's a personal foul on roughing the kicker, Capice. So, I'll tell you, you can't complain about the breaks going against you tonight. And it's good. It's good that they're going Florida State's way in this den they call Death Valley at LSU. First and goal now for the Seminoles at just about the 9-yard line. The backs in the I formation. The crowd booing, and the handoff to Michael Whiting, who bounces down to the 2-yard line. It'll be second and goal from there.
It's amazing how that offensive line gets fired up when you get down there inside the 10-yard line. There was a nice hole on the right side. And those guys are still doing the job up there, and the Seminoles are in real good shape here.
I'll tell you, the LSU kids really have nobody to blame but themselves for their misfortune tonight. And I can see this Rick Stockstill gaining more confidence as he goes along in this game.
Here's Ricky Render is in at offensive end.
Give is to the up back Whiting, and Whiting is stopped for virtually no gain on the second and goal. The ball before that play was marked on the 3, and I have a feeling it'll be still marked on the 3.
The reason I mentioned Render being in there, I've never seen him come in position on offense except when they were blocking for a kick. Apparently, they were just going to run it, and he's staying in, so it's for blocking power, so they'll probably stay on the ground. Third
down and 3. Oh, a field goal, if you don't make it this time, a field goal is just like an extra point as far as distance goes. Third and 3, third and goal for the Seminoles. In motion is Unglov. The pitch out to Platt. Sammy Platt cuts back. Touchdown, Florida State. Sammy Platt in the right corner of the end zone, and the Seminoles have grabbed a 15-0 lead over the LSU Bengal Tigers. It comes with 2:32 left in the third quarter of play. And after the extra point, we'll see a replay of that touchdown by Sammy Platt. We're going to stay for the extra point, though.
Well, Sam Platt had a 3-yard run here for a touchdown. He caught a pass in the first quarter last year here for a 3-yard touchdown and sprained his ankle on it and missed four games in a row as a result of that. But he came out of this one a lot better.
All right, here is Billy Capice, one of the heroes of the night, with the extra point. The kick is up, and the kick is good, making the score 16-0 in favor of Florida State. Now, Sam Platt took the handoff that time from Rick Stockstill, and he cut back inside. We're going to look at it from ground level. Well, I hope we are. Here we go.
Okay. Watch the surge of the offensive line here as Unglaub comes in motion and took 2 defensive backs with him. The pitch out to Platt. Platt going around the right side, and he lowers his head here and just powers his way, just getting into the end zone there.
So Sammy Platt lugs it into the end zone, 16-0 Florida State, and will stay here to catch Bill Capice's kickoff. 2:32 left to go in the third quarter of play. We wanted to show you that Sammy Platt touchdown one more time. It's always nice to see the home team score.
Home team for those that are watching on TV.
Well, we certainly hope so. We hope the Seminole fans are enjoying it. It's our pleasure on Channel 27 to be bringing you the action. And Jim, we'll be down the Orange Bowl on the 27th to do the Miami game. We'll be in Lincoln, Nebraska. What's that team? The Cornhuskers will be playing. Yeah. And October 25th at another Tiger town, Memphis State.
You know, I saw one poll this year that ranked Pitt first and Nebraska third, 2 of FSU's opponents.
I tell you, talk about dancing to faster music. Bobby Bowden is doing it this year. Bill Capice knocks another long kickoff deep into the end zone, and they'll down it there. So with 2:32 left to go in the third quarter, the score, Florida State 16, LSU nothing. Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. The LSU Tigers on a handoff to, rather, a keeper by Risher, pick up 5 yards on 1st and 10 from their own 20 after the kickoff by Capice was down, so it's 2nd down and 5. Risher still in there at quarterback for the scoreless LSU Tigers. Hokie Gaijon, for one of the few times tonight, takes the ball up the middle, and he's right at that 30-yard line, and that means an LSU first down.
Last year he gained over 100 yards against the Seminoles, about 90 of that in the first quarter. And I've put the glasses on the Seminole bench, and I see Ron Simmons standing up. He's still in uniform, and he's standing up right in front of the fan over there, and he's moving around. But we don't know what the results of the x-ray were. But that's a good sign that he's not in street clothes and he's standing up.
It's a very good sign. Ron Simmons, maybe he won't play tonight with the Seminoles leading 16-0. They don't want to chance it, but he did not have to go to the hospital or anything like that. Meanwhile, some of Simmons' cohorts put a hurt on Alan Risher. And I'm speaking specifically of defensive end Scott McLean, who dumps Risher for no gain or maybe a loss of a few yards. They're going to mark it back at the 27-yard line, so it'll be a loss of 3.
Scott McLean's a very versatile player. They've had him playing at defensive end and defensive tackle, and someday it could be McLean and McLean because they just recruited his brother, John McLean. They're from Claremont, Florida, and John is a defensive end also.
Robbie Mahfouz back in at quarterback for LSU, and Alan Risher goes out. They're fooling around with Risher's neck. He may have a little bit of an injury there. They're fooling around with the helmet in the neck area. We'll try and keep an eye on that for you. Mahfouz keeps it. Last time he did that at good success. This time picks up just about 4 yards. And Reggie Herring was there along with Motzik to make the tackle.
And what made that go was a tremendous block by Hokie Gaijon in the backfield. I wonder why Hokie hasn't played more tonight.
I don't know. Only Jerry Stovall would have the answer. When talking to him last night, he said his squad was entirely healthy. He said Gaijon would play a lot. He has not. Orlando McDaniel and Tracy Porter are the split ends. Gaijon and Miles, the setbacks. And Mahfouz over to Miles. Miles gets away from one man, but cannot escape the grasp of Bobby Butler, bringing him down just over the 35. And
some people.
The 1980 college football season for both the Florida State Seminoles and the LSU Bengal Tigers. And so far, Seminole fans down Tallahassee way, you have a lot to smile about. 16-0 lead. Meanwhile, Dave Johnston is in to punt for the umpteenth time tonight for the Tigers. He'll get it off from his own 25. Gary Henry lets it bounce at the 35, and it will stay inbounds, but be down at the Seminole 24-yard line. Well, Jim, Florida State has shut out the LSU Tigers on defense, and no points, obviously, and we knew that Florida State's defense was a good one as we look at a dejected LSU bench right now, but it still is very satisfying to see them performing so well so early in the year.
Well, Coach Bowden said that possibly it might take a while to get the offense together with a new quarterback, and that he was just hoping the defense once again would be strong enough to carry the offense, and that's exactly what's happened tonight.
Well, Rick Stockstill certainly had a better second half throwing the ball than he did the first half. He hasn't thrown all that much, but he throws it with more authority. And into the game now, running the ball for Bobby Bowden's men are Holmes Johnson. And Holmes, who had that great game in the Garnet and Gold game, was feared he wouldn't make the trip, but he showed up and he gets his first carry of the night.
Right, he hurt a hand and then he hurt a knee. and he missed about a week of practice. And when you miss practice with this coaching staff, you get dropped down. The guys, they feel that the way you practice is the way you're going to play, and the guys that have been practicing are the ones that are going to play. And of course, it was through no fault of Holmes that he was missing it, but he was in effect missing.
Well, we have a timeout called on the field because of an injury, and that injury is to an LSU football player, and that's Al Richardson. They're attending to him on the field, and while they're attending to Al Richardson, let's take a timeout ourselves with 14:31 left to go in the game. The score: Florida State 16, LSU nothing. The injured football player for LSU, Al Richardson, 6 foot, 224-pound sophomore from Baton Rouge. He's off the field now. We hope he's all right, but it doesn't look like he's going to have any more action tonight. Meanwhile, Ken Burnett, sophomore out of Brandon, Florida, one of his few carries for the night. For the Seminoles, Jim, and he takes the ball over the 25-yard line. They're going to spot it up at the 28, and that will set up a situation where the Seminoles need to pick up about 6 yards, and it'll be third down. Third down, make it closer to 5 yards. 16-0 Florida State, 14 minutes left to go in the game. Here's a pitch out, and a pretty decent run before being stopped. Holmes Johnson over the 30, up to around the 33-yard line, but Holmes is stopped short of the first down, and Ron Stark will be in the punt. There's Richardson, the injured LSU ball player, and they're working on that knee area.
He's one of the inside linebackers for them, and he had a pretty good game up to this point, and I'm sure they don't want to lose him for any length of time.
So Ron Stark in there to do the punting chores. Chris Williams, the fleet LSU punt returner, is standing at his own 25. Stark gets it off from his 25. Once again, a high spiraling punt. Williams signals fair catch. He brings it in at the 23-yard line. And we'll keep it right here with 13 minutes, 14 seconds left to go in the ball game.
That was a 49-yard kick by Stark, and he kicked 4 times in the first half for 47.5, so he's had a good night punting.
Okay, the Bengal Tigers, who haven't had all that great field position most of the night, have what I would call mediocre field position now. First and 10 of their own 24, and Mahfouz is still in there at quarterback, as it appears that Risher may be done for the night. Mahfouz on the keeper. Gain of 4, and you can hear those pads clanking up here. Reggie Herring gets to him first. Also in there, James Harris.
When Reggie hits him, you always hear the pads click. He is the most intense player on the team. As a matter of fact, once he gets so intense and so fired up before the games that one time in the pregame exercises, he split his chin open and took seven stitches.
That's what I call dedication, I think. Second down and 4 now for LSU. Ball on the 30-yard line. Orlando McDaniel, the only wide receiver east of the top of your screen, out of view. Long count by Mahfouz. Fumble and a flag on the play. The ball is, well, still loose, and LSU recovers. Finally falling on it was Willie Turner. A split end who came back for it, but let's hold everything and see what the flags are about. We're going to see this play again.
All right, let's see what happened in this play. I know James Gilbert hit the quarterback pretty good, number 51, who's playing in the place of injured Ron Simmons, and the ball was on the ground when he hit it, and he couldn't get around Mahfouz. Squirted right out from under Jesse Miles. 2 Seminoles on it. Bonasorte won. Harris knocked Bonasorte off, and an LSU player got it.
I'll tell you what happened. The tight end, as we saw in that replay, Greg LaFleur, went offside. And they were talking to Captain Reggie Herring, one of the captains out there, and he says, yep, I'm going to take that penalty. The down will remain the same, illegal procedure, but the ball will be marked just short of the 25-yard line, and that results in a second down and about 10.5-yard situation. So the Seminoles again benefit from another LSU penalty. I think it would be safe to say that LSU, put it bluntly, is playing like a young team in its first game. Mahfouz back to pass. He's got a receiver, but he overthrows him. Overthrowing Willie Turner, who was open. He found the seam. However, it's incomplete. It'll be third down, 10 yards to go.
You know, this fellow, Willie Turner, beat Harvey Glantz of Auburn in a 60-yard indoor dash when he was a freshman, and that's doing something.
Well, they say in the press guide, Jim, that he is a world-class sprinter, and if you beat Harvey Glantz, you are world-class, no doubt about it. The coach is giving him a good talking to on the sideline, chewing him out a bit for dropping that pass. I thought it was kind of high myself.
It's a bad throw. 3rd down and 10. Mafu's being pressured. Dumps it off to Miles, who will go just, well, he breaks a couple of tackles. I thought he was going to be nailed at the 25. Gets up to around the 30. Putting the final hit on for the Seminoles was Arthur Scott. Scott McLean almost made a great play there. He was over in the area anticipating that play, that pass, but it was thrown a little out of his reach. If he had been able to grab it off, it would have been 6 points.
Back to punt again is Johnston, and back in single safety again for the Seminoles, Gary Henry. Johnston gets it off from his 20. It is an end-over-end kick. Gary Henry at the 37. He goes down there with 11:42 left to go in the 4th quarter. The score, Florida State 16, LSU nothing. Holmes Johnson isn't running with very much emotion. Welcome back to Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A big crowd, but they haven't had much to cheer about, frankly, tonight, as the Seminoles defense has smothered LSU. And Florida State, with 11:18 to go, ahead 16-0. 1st and 10 play went to Holmes Johnson. He was stopped for no gain. Here we go, 2nd and 10. Rick Stockstill still in there at quarterback.
We're going to isolate on Georgia Tia here.
Here's another pitch out to Holmes Johnson. He carries it over the 40 to the 43-yard line. And Greg Bowser, who's now in there at nose guard for LSU, he's replaced Atia. I believe we're going to take a look at him now, or maybe we're not. I guess we're not. Well, we're going to see the Tiger. You're not doing very much roaring tonight there, fella.
They got a real tiger over here in a cage. Mike the 4th.
I just hope they don't let him out.
Eats 12 pounds of exotic cat food a day.
What is exotic cat food? Horse meat?
It's got horse meat and vitamins.
Sounds like the network commissary where I work. Anyway, here's Holmes Johnson carrying the ball for the 3rd straight time, and this time Holmes picks up what appears to be a 1st down. It all depends where they mark it. Well, now they step back a little bit.
All right, we're going to take a look at the pulling guard, Lee Adams, who's had a pretty good game tonight. Lee on the left side of the center. Pulls out to the left, and you're watching number 63 lead the way. Larry Harris threw a good block in there, and Holmes Johnson hopped right through the gap and got a nice gainer.
But it was a yard short of the 1st down, so not wanting to take any chances. Ron Stark is on again to punt, and this kid ought to get a good write-up in the Democrat tomorrow because he has performed very well. Bobby Bowden has not had to worry about his punting game tonight. It's a high snap. Stark handles it, and another great high spiraling punt. This is going back to the goal line and into the end zone, and Chris Williams has to just fall on it. What a punt. That is a 63-yard punt from where he let it go. A 63-yard punt, about 53 from the line of scrimmage. Let's watch that again. Let's watch that punt again. That was some play.
Left-footer Ron Stark, who is a decathlon performer on the track team, quite an athlete. And he gets a left foot up pretty high. Gets a good punt, and Chris Williams almost made a bad mistake. He tried to field it inside the 5-yard line.
I'll tell you, you made a profit out of me with that kick. That's 53 yards from the line of scrimmage and 63 all told in the air. That is some boot. Okay, Mafu's still in there, quarterback. LSU 1st and 10 at the 20. Mafu's on a keeper on the option play, and he'll go up to about the 23-yard line.
Reggie Herring, who's having a good game at linebacker, came over to make that stop. Herring and Porowski, of course, the team leaders in tackles last year.
The only touchdown of the evening scored by Sammy Platt, and that was in the 3rd quarter of play, and a nice run around the right end for 3 yards and a score. You add that for the extra point and 3 field goals by Bill Capice of 35, 32, and 45 yards, and you have a 16-0 Seminole lead. 2nd and 7. Mafu's throwing while he's falling down, and he completes it to the tight end Malcolm Scott. Malcolm pulls it in, but he's short of the 1st down, and Bobby Butler is in the area along with Paul Porowski. The 3rd down at about 1.5 or 2.
They've got LSU in their own territory and in a situation where they have to gamble and take chances now, and this is when you can break a game open.
It'll be third down, and they call it officially 1 yard. Orlando McDaniel, number 32, sprinting to the top of your screen. He's the lone wide receiver now. And you can see a lot of footballs in the air, predictably, towards the end with LSU trailing. But not this time. Mahfouz wants to keep it, and I don't believe he got the first down. It all depends where they mark it. He is short of the 30-yard line, and that's where he had to get to, and Arthur Scott made sure he didn't get there. And we have a penalty flag on the play. And Jimmy Gilbert, who's subbing for Ron Simmons in there at the nose guard, is signaling that the penalty's against LSU. Illegal procedure. Jimmy Gilbert was right. And now Captain Reggie Herring talking with the referee, who's explaining the options. Now, if Florida State refuses the penalty, it becomes fourth down. Keep that in mind.
Well, I've been watching Ron Simmons through my binoculars here while all this was going on, and Ron is still in his uniform, of course, and he's walking around, but he has a very, very bad limp.
Well, of course, Bobby Bowden with the lead doesn't want to take any chances. Herring elects to accept the penalty, so it will remain third down. And the ball is placed back at the 24-yard line. Tracy Porter coming in now from Coach Jerry Stovall's bench for the play for Robbie Mahfouz, the junior quarterback from Lafayette, Louisiana. 3rd and 5, LSU, 7:52 left to go. Mahfouz over the middle, incomplete. Reggie Herring there to make the hit, and LSU's going to have to punt again. I think the busiest guy on the LSU bench tonight has been the punter, Davey Johnston, coming into the game. And Gary Henry has got another shot. You recall that Henry returned one for a touchdown against Southern Mississippi in the opener last year. Who could ever forget that one? And he set up another touchdown, proved to be the winning one at Cincinnati last season with an excellent punt return. Now Bonasort is dropping back there also. The Seminoles will not put a rush on the kick. It's a beautiful kick. Henry gets it at the 37. And he's tackled at the 40-yard line, and with 7:37 left to go in the game, we'll pause now for 30 seconds. Tom Mees with Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium. The Seminoles all set to run a play, but Ken Lanier forgot to count, and he jumped offside. Illegal procedure will be called on Lanier and the Seminoles, one of the few penalties in the second half against Florida State. Maybe surprising, but the Seminoles were penalized for more yardage in the first half than was LSU.
You know, LSU has made a lot of mistakes, and they've made a lot of turnovers, but you really can't take anything away from the defensive effort that FSU has turned in. I mean, there's 0 points on the board, and LSU stopped its own self sometimes, but the Seminoles have caused a lot of that, too.
The first down of 15 for Stockstill at the 35-yard line. Pitch to Holmes Johnson. Johnson picks up maybe a yard. We're being brought down by Lawrence Williams, who's back in the ball game. They worked on that young man, and he was injured in the third quarter, early in the third quarter, and he's back there and he made the tackle.
Tom, Mark Carlson had said that he would get back up to us after the x-ray of Simmons if the ankle was broken, and he hasn't come back, so we can only assume that there's no break, that it's probably you know, a bad bruise,
maybe a sprain or something like that. Well, obviously, because Ron is still in uniform and very much in evidence on the sideline. Second down, 14, and here's Holmes Johnson, and Johnson lugs it up to the 45-yard line where Britt drags him down. About 5 yards short of a first down. 6:50 left to go in the game. Be third down and 5. Holmes Johnson, youngster who did not play last year, number 23, had some personal problems. But he's back this year, and Bobby Bowden is glad to have him. Dennis McKinnon replaces Phil Williams now with the play from Seminole coaching staff. Third down 5. Got to get to midfield for the first down. Holmes Johnson. And he's got the first down. And that'll stop the clock with 6:19, make it 6:18 left to go in the game. And let's watch the offensive line perform here.
Okay, the Seminole offensive line opening up some holes for Holmes Johnson, who's running with pretty good intensity. Once again, both guards pulling, 72 Lanier, 63 Adams, and Holmes cuts back, runs into Thibodeau there, and keeps pushing forward until he gets the first down.
Kurt Unglaub, who, if I'm correct, has not caught a pass tonight, goes split wide to the right. Spirit, of course, redshirted last year after being injured right prior to the season. Holmes Johnson, again, they're working him a lot once they get him in there. And Holmes is stopped after a gain of about 3 to be 2nd and 7 at the LSU 44.
The Seminoles have consistently worked 4 different receivers in there: Hardis Johnson, Dennis McKinnon, Phil Williams, and Kurt Unglaub, but they haven't hit them very much with passes tonight.
Well, the LSU cheerleader is yelling, but I'm afraid the fans are not staying with her. A lot of them are starting to leave Tiger Stadium now. You can see them coming down the exitways from where we're viewing this game. Here's Holmes Johnson again. Holmes Johnson down the sideline, and Holmes Johnson is tackled inside the 35 at the 33-yard line, and that'll stop the clock as he's tackled out of bounds, and it's a first down.
Let's watch Holmes Johnson in action, who in the first game he ever played against Syracuse gained 135 yards as a sophomore. Holmes eludes that tackler and just keeps on churning. Later in that same sophomore season, he gained 152 yards in one game against VPI. And Holmes keeps on until he has gotten another first down.
His timeout on the field, 5:15 left in the game. Florida State 16, LSU nothing. Tom Mees with Jim Crosby back at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. Seminoles with the ball. Reverse play from Sam Platt to Dennis McKinnon. He's got some room. Dennis McKinnon down to the 15-yard line, and that'll give the Seminoles a first down. As a nifty reverse play, the pitch out from Stockstill to Platt, and the reversal back to McKinnon.
And I think the man that finally made the tackle once again was Lyman White, but this is one of Bobby Bowden's favorite plays. And if your defensive line is not getting good penetration, or if they're faked out like they were there, you see Atia went for the fake, and you're going to get some yardage on it, especially with the speed of a Dennis McKinnon. And you see Greg Futch out front trying to hit Chris Williams. He does get Williams, but Lyman White got him.
4:08 left to go in the game. Here is Burnett, and Burnett is inside the 10 to the 7-yard line. A couple of yards short of a first down, and I'm afraid for LSU, if the Seminoles score here, they're going to have it wrapped up. Chris Williams makes the tackle, and of course, we're happy about that, Jim, because we know the folks in Tallahassee rooting real hard for the Seminoles. And don't forget, next Saturday night, the home opener against Louisville. Tickets are still on sale. You buy one, you get one free for the remaining tickets, and they're going to go fast. Stop by Tully Jim and pick up your ducats for that one. That's next Saturday night. All right, second down, 2 yards to go. Burnett and Platt are the running backs. The give is to Burnett. He is close to the first down. From our angle, I don't want to venture to say that he got it or did not. And we might have a measurement here. They're going to place it right on the stripe. 3:17 left to go in the game. And time is out. And we're going to bring on the chains. So we'll keep it here.
Well, Tom, you know, the Seminoles have not exactly sparkled tonight, but it's becoming more obvious that they are going to win the game, barring some real miracle on LSU's part. What the fans need to realize that might be disgruntled about this effort is that they played poorly in the first game last year and had to come from behind on that run by Gary Henry to beat Southern Miss, and still went on to be undefeated.
That's a good point. Good point. The first game is always the toughest, and the Seminole fans cheer their approval as we have a first and goal. And the ball is right smack dab in the middle of the 5-yard line.
And I always remember what Vince Lombardi said when he would win a game and they didn't look good, and the newspapers would say, hey, you didn't look too good. He'd say, if I can not look good and win, then just think what we're going to do when we're looking good.
That's for sure. Now this Florida State team, like last year's, has a lot of potential. Pitch out to Holmes Johnson. He stopped for no gain. Maybe he lost half a yard. The LSU defense inspired on that one. Ricky Chapman comes up to make the hit. It'll be second and goal from the 5. 2:49, the clock running. We'll take another look at it.
Okay, Holmes Johnson in action as Rick Stockstill pitches out, and he's running the right flank, and his blocking breaks down, and Chapman comes up and makes a nice tackle. And the ball's still resting on the 5-yard line.
Second and goal now at 5. Sorry, Jim.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Backs in the I formation. Stockstill to Burnett. And he is stopped for relatively no gain. Maybe they'll give him a yard, maybe not.
But they are running down the clock, and that's what they want to do. They wouldn't mind if they could take 3 plays on the ground and score on the 4th one. Then that would put it well below 2 minutes, because it's at 2 minutes right now and ticking. And it would get more points on the board.
Dennis McKinnon coming in for Phil Williams. Under 2 minutes now. 1:50 left to go in this game, and the Seminoles are going to win it. They're leading 16-0, and they're knocking on the door again. Tom Means with Jim Crosby on Channel 27. Happy to bring it to you. Here's the pitch out to Platt. He cuts back in. Platt is stopped at the 4-yard line. And it'll set up a field goal situation, I'm sure. Bill Capice will come in, and he'll have an easy time if Bobby Bowden elects to go for the field goal. Well, my goodness, I don't believe he is. Capice is not going to come in there. We have 1:18, the clock running. And coming in instead with the play is Larry Harris. So I guess Bobby figures, what the heck, even if I don't make it, I got LSU pinned down deep in their own territory.
That's right. It'll be less than a minute.
We have a timeout on the field called by LSU with a score. Florida State 16, LSU nothing.
Read about it, you've heard about it, you've seen it on TV. Now experience for yourself what everyone's raving about. The Bagel Peddler. New York-style deli sandwiches, overstuffed with pastrami, corned beef, and much more. Or the traditional bagel with cream cheese and lox. Make breakfast, lunch, or dinner out fun again. Try us also for our specialty breads and unusual baked goods. Our dining room has expanded to meet popular demand, so stop in and see us. We're open 7 days a week, located across from the Northwood Mall on Boulevard Street.
Security is an important word at Midjet Moore Insurance Agency. So when you...
Tom Mees with Jim Crosby, and this could be the last play of the game. Alan Risher going for all the marbles. It is complete to Tracy Porter. But that is the last play of the game. The clock has run out, and the Florida State Seminoles have just defeated the LSU Bengal Tigers. The final score is Coach Bobby Bowden runs across the center of the field to shake hands with Jerry Stovall. The final score, Florida State 16, the LSU Tigers nothing. The Seminoles have to be very elated with this victory. I know, Jim, the LSU Tigers, well, they played a mighty good football team tonight, only gave up 16 points. They're going to get better.
Well, anytime you beat the Tigers in Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night, you've done something, and they've got to be proud of the effort that they put out to come in here and do this job and to shut out the LSU Bayou Bengals. And they're going to be a pretty good team before the season's over, I believe LSU is, but they do have some problems now, and the Seminole defense caused some too, as you see them filing into their locker room. And there's the LSU Tiger.
What am I going to do, right? Well, what you're going to do is get ready for next week, LSU. Florida State wins it 16-0, and we'll be back with a wrap-up of this great game after these messages with the final score, Florida State 16, LSU nothing.
Back at Tiger Stadium, where the Florida State Seminoles have just defeated LSU by the score of 16-0. No scoring in the second and fourth quarters. FSU with 2 field goals by Bill Capice, 135 yards and 132. In the first quarter, took a 6-0 lead in at halftime, and then in the third quarter with 10:09 left, Capice a 45-yard field goal. Sam Platt with 2:32 left in the third quarter scored from 3 yards out, and Capice, who scored 10 points on the night, added the extra point, and that made 16-0, Tom.
Very successful opening of the season for the Seminoles and Bobby Bowden. Don't forget, next Saturday night, it's homecoming time, the first home game of the year. The Louisville Cardinals, the opposition. And let's gobble up the remaining tickets, fans, and have a sellout for the Seminoles. As for yours truly, Tom Mees and Jim Crosby, we'll see you again with Seminole football on the afternoon of the 27th of September from the Orange Bowl in Miami when the Seminoles take on the Hurricanes. Once